This meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Councilman Trenary.
I'm here.
Councilman Bowman.
Here.
Councilman Schwab.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
Here.
Mayor Kern. Here. There is no public comment this evening, so we'll move on to approval of meeting minutes from the September 17th, 2025 regular council meeting. Has council had an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yep.
Any changes or revisions needed? All right, can I get a motion, please?
Make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from September 3rd, 2025.
About September 7th. I'll let agenda strong. Never mind.
Yes.
I'll second.
Oh, today's September 7th. I'm sorry. So from the September 3rd meeting, I was just reading my script.
Jody said, right?
I'm a drama kid, guys. All right. Did I get a second?
Yes.
Okay, vote please.
Mayor Durham.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
Yes.
Councilman Schwab.
Yep.
Councilman Trenary.
Yes.
Councilman Bowman.
Yes.
All right, moving on to reports. City Administrator Frank Salvato.
A couple of things, Mayor. One, we have talked to ice castles. They are coming, of course, and they should have employees around the 1st of October showing up. They'll start preparing the site for freezing weather and start spraying again. There's going to be a little different this year. They always change the castle up every year, but this year they're planning, if they can get their pyro guy licensed, they're planning to have flames
Sweet.
in the castle. So it's gonna be cool.
Then fire melt ice.
Fire and ice. Fire-
He's
Huh?
plays it. music.
Flames and music, yeah. And then we've talked to the casinos and they're all on board with helping with water for ice castles, and they're all on board with Ice Fest. So we're holding monthly meetings and hoping all that goes. On the downside, is if the community knows we're trying to go through the process of home rule. And maybe we have 8 candidates that have signed up to be on the ballot. So there'll be an initiative on November the 9th for home rule. And what we've heard people are saying is, if you become home rule, the city can do eminent domain. They can take your property. So I just want to let people know that I've been doing this for 40 years and I've been in cities that have been home rule and had eminent domain power. I've never had a council member ever tell me they would use eminent domain on anybody else's. I know other cities have done it, but I've never been in a city, and I can almost guarantee that none of these people would go through that. Eminent domain is, people get paid for their land, but it's through a long process. And I just don't see it happening in Cripple Creek. So there is that rumor going around, and
No, I appreciate that because I just want to state that in the conversations around home rule, eminent domain has never been a part of the conversation, and I have absolutely zero interest in pursuing that in any way, shape, or form. I honestly, I don't agree with exercising that. Personally, that's my personal thought. So,
There might be language as well that put into the home rule where eminent domain is not able to come forth to council. So.
And so that's something that could be up to the Charter Commission, but I do not support eminent domain, and I don't believe any of us have even given that thought consideration. So it's unfortunate that that rumor, that is our plan is out there because it is unequivocally false. So thank you for bringing that up.
cool. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Finance Director Monet Edwards.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I have July's gaming industry report. On a statewide basis, the entire industry was up $4.4 million or 4.6% over June. Cripple Creek's adjusted gross proceeds compared to the previous month were up 1.4 million or 8.8%. Compared to the July of the previous year, AGP was up 450,000 or 2.6%, and compared to the prior year, AGP was up $4 million or 2.8%. Coin in and table drop compared to the previous month was up $22.2 million or 11.5%. Compared to July of the previous year, it was down $4.8 million or 2.2%. And compared to the prior year, coin in and table drop was down $56 million or 4.2%. Cripple Creek's market share increased to 17.5%, and comparing that to the previous year, 2024 July was 0.3 higher than the 17.5 at 17.8%. Thank you.
All right, moving on to presentations. I know it appears in the agenda that there's two separate presentations, but it is actually one presentation by the CCB school district regarding the school district's mill levy efforts. So do we have a representative from the school district who would like to present?
Yes, kind of. Actually, I am here as a private citizen. I'm not representing the school district. My name is Dan Cummings. I live in Victor, Colorado. I've been there for about 6 years. My family has been in the area since 1961. And I'm here, thank you for the invitation, to speak to you about the upcoming ballot issue 4A and answer any questions that you might have. I do have representatives from the committee are here as well. If they want to join me, that's great. But if they want to jump in and ask some questions, that's wonderful as well. As you know, the school district is pursuing a ballot measure, ballot 4A. I'd like you to memorize that and think about 4A is for kids. We are vacating, as a school district, they are vacating a bond issue or a bond that has been in place since 2005 that vacates this coming December. We are asking, or the school district is asking a continuance, a tax extension, so that they can take the money that citizens have been paying for the past 20 years and just continue that and shift that over into the mill levy so that the school district can continue that consistent stream of revenue. There's a number of reasons for this. Basically, the district is facing significant concerns when it comes to funding from state and federal resources. This past summer, the district faced the possibility of losing all of its title funding, which would have eliminated its after-school programs. It is facing the opportunity or the possibility of losing the state grants that it is acquired right now, which pays teacher salaries, which pays counselor salaries, et cetera. We need to be sustainable. We need to think locally. We need to take care of our own. And if we are able to have this tax extension, there will be no tax increase on our citizens. There's no tax increase for anybody in the district. It's the same amount that people have been paying here for the past 20 years. And what it would allow us to do is to fund ongoing maintenance of our facilities and provide for incentives to attract and retain high quality teachers, counselors, staff members throughout the district for years to come by shifting that significant portion of our budget. Maintenance is inevitable. We have a boiler at Besson Elementary School that is 2 years beyond its end date. It needs to be replaced. Maintenance is inevitable in a school district. The need to attract and retain high quality instructors is inevitable. We are facing probably 15 to 16 retirements in the next 4 to 5 years. How are we going to replace those people if we can't attract them there? So knowing that the maintenance, knowing that the retention and the attraction of high quality educators is absolutely inevitable. If we can extend this current tax without raising taxes on anybody else, and we can direct it towards those inevitabilities, that frees up approximately $500,000 a year in our general fund that we can put towards these programs that are facing extinction, that we can put towards programs for after school for our children in a community that has nothing for youth after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that we can put towards the grant funded positions in our district that will go unfunded if we don't have a way to pay for them. That's the general pitch. You guys will see the signage. You guys will see the conversation around town. It's for and it's for kids. If we want to keep our school district open We need to fund it properly, and that funding needs to be local. We cannot rely on our state to take care of us. We cannot rely on our federal government to take care of us. The school district is not asking for any more funding than it already has. It's asking for an extension of the funding that it's already been granted. So I would appreciate any questions that you might have.
And Dan, my apologies, to clarify for the record, you are not here as a school representative, you're here as a private citizen.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay.
I know a little bit about the school district, but I am here as a private citizen speaking on it.
Well, you know, but.
What questions do you have? I bet I would answer it. That's, oh, yes, that is correct.
And just to clarify the point that nobody would see an increase in what they're already paying.
That is absolutely correct. If you want to get in, you guys know mill levy talk better than I do. Basically, I believe that the mill levy that is going to the school district is around 13.13, something like that. I believe if my calculations are correct, it would increase the mill levy going to the school district by about 1.14, which puts us around 14.5. For comparison, I believe the mill levy that goes to Woodland Park School District is 27 something. So the mill levy going to the school district would be significantly lower. But again, that right now it's being paid towards a bond, in the extent of about $500,000. So it's just shifting as that bond vacates, maintaining the same amount, but shifting it towards the mill levy, which we could put into the general fund.
That mill levy is expiring because the bond is being.
I think the bond and the mill levy are two separate things. The bond is expiring in December because it will be paid off. It's been in place since 2005. The bond that paid for the current high school upgrades, security systems, et cetera, et cetera. It was significant. It's before my time. I can get more information on that if you would like. But this is asking for the same amount of money to go to the district, but the amount that was earmarked for the bond, just shift that over so we can use it for the general fund. So they can use it for the general fund. That's awesome. Any other questions? We would appreciate your support in the community, and please, if anybody has questions, or if you know of anybody that has questions, ask them to reach out to me personally. I'm happy to provide my personal cell phone number, et cetera. And thank you very much for hearing me out.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks.
So just to clarify, do we have another presentation okay, so I was right on. Okay, awesome. Did the committee have any comments before you would like to add before we move on?
Absolutely, really without issue. However, I want to thank you for your donation to the concert.
Yes.
My goal when we started this was $2,500. We're almost there. And we haven't even opened the doors yet. So thank you. I hope we see you all there because it's going to be hilarious.
It's September 27th at the Butte Theater is it 6 o'clock? 7 o'clock. And so it's Swing Factory at Woodland Park. They are doing a concert, and it is a fundraiser for the music program. The district hired an awesome new music teacher last year, and he is very, very motivated to build up the program. He's done a lot of legwork already, but if you can make it, you can purchase tickets online at buttetheater.com, or you can just show up at the door that night. So, and thank you, Donna, for your efforts in putting that together.
So can you make donations at the program?
Oh, yes.
Right after. Well, thank you.
All right. Moving on to new business, agenda item A, comprehensive plan. Camille, planning and HP manager. So this is a council to convene this planning commission with a public hearing. So at this time, city council will now convene as the planning commission. We are now opening a public hearing on the comprehensive plan and economic development and tourism plan. First, staff will present the plans. Then the planning commission can ask any questions of the staff. And then we will open it up to public comment. If you participate in public comment, you will have a 5-minute time limit. So.
Mayor and council. So this evening is the first public hearing. The second one will be on October 1st. If we decide to move in that direction to adopt. So I thought I would start with just a general rundown of the purpose of the comprehensive plan and what is an economic development and tourism. Just to recap. So after a series of public engagements and staff consults with our consultant Kimley Horn, we came up with a few vision and goals for the plan, which drives the plan. The comprehensive plan, vision and goals, we came up with 5 categories for the comprehensive plan: housing and development, family and community, economic development and tourism, infrastructure, character and culture. Under each of those, we have the goals, and then we do have some objectives here in the green. I do think that city has been very proactive in these, even before the implementation of the comp plan. Our council, excuse me, has already implemented some money, set aside some money for our wayfinding signs. Jeff Moser has worked with developers in the community with Prop 123 to provide low-income housing for us. The mayor was proactive in bringing Main Street as an idea. We have since hired Main Street coordinator, and we are working towards being a Main Street community. I know that if Frank wanted to discuss, we are working on infrastructure plans to talk about some areas of need and obtaining funding for that. Character and culture, that with Jay on board, we are working on some programs to hopefully get some tax incentives to help with some existing buildings, historic buildings on Bennett. That will work in conjunction with Main Street. So we do have the strategies and opportunities broken down in comprehensive plan in a series of from 0 to 10+ years. Like I did discuss, we already are working on some of these items between the 0 and 3 to 5 year already. We do have some programs earmarked for 5 to 10 and 10+. There are specific strategies, many in the comp plan. I don't really know if I can discuss all of them now, but the key points I think I've touched on. And then the same thing for the economic development and tourism strategy plan. We have come up with 6 goals and objectives. I did only put a couple of them on here, excuse me. We do have many other ideas and things that council and the public are considering, and as development comes up, things that we can refer to throughout the plan. And same thing here with 0 to 3 to 5 years for the tourism strategy plan. Smaller placemaking with, like I said, the wayfinding. Staff and I have come forward with a grant that we submitted to do some improvements in the Pocket Park. We are considering downtown footprint expansion. That will be through the Main Street program as well. And then I put this slide in here because I think there is some confusion with the future land use map. Just wanted to say that this is not a regulatory document. I know some people were worried about this is going to rezone their existing properties. This does not replace our existing zoning map currently. So I just want to say this is just a tool for staff to guide future development and help make better decisions on what's the best places for if there's large projects coming into town based on infrastructure and needs and use types. So again, this is not a regulatory document. It does inform policy and zoning and helps us shape zoning ordinances and the land development code, which is in progress now. The last thing I want to say is that this is a living document, so we can make changes and amendments to it at any time based on if there's certain development needs or community input as well. So it's not a stagnant document that we have to go by. It is something that can be open for discussion. That's the end of my presentation. Open for questions.
A little more, Mayor, if you don't mind. On the future land use map, a lot of cities that I've been at have not done this, but if the council adopts the future land use map and someone comes in to zone and you agree with the zoning change, but it doesn't correspond with the future land use map, then you change the future land use map first. So we'd have to go to council to amend the comp plan, the future land use map, and then the zoning can come forward. So it's a document that should parallel each other, you know, so that what happens is people put the comp plan on the desk or cabinet and it never gets looked at, and then you go off and you're zoning property for years, and then your comp plan's out of date because it doesn't match anything that you've been doing. So they should be parallel documents and work together. Thank you.
Any questions or discussion before we take public comment? Just one thing I want to confirm, and this is something I'm just learning in the process, because I know our previous comp plan hadn't been reviewed since 2009, but my understanding is standard practice should be reviewed.
It should be reviewed annually by staff. They should stay on top of any changes that are coming. And then it should be looked at by council probably once every 5 years to see if it's still the direction, because things change over time. And so you might need to amend the comprehensive plan over that time period in 5 years. You probably need a rewrite or really look at rewriting 10 years, something like that. This has been since 2009. I don't think it's ever been looked at.
Okay,
So
here we are.
here we are.
Yes. So that being said, I'll go ahead and open it up to public comment. Anyone who wishes to speak, you will have 5 minutes. So Reed, if you could, can you come up to the microphone?
Reed Granger, Granger Realty LLC. I actually have 2 concerns. If I don't use up too much time on the first one, I'll get into the second. But if one actually looks at the proposed zoning map, you'll see that there are 2 mixed use zones that are proposed. One of them is referred to as a regional mixed use, and one is referred to as a neighborhood mixed use. Interestingly enough, a lot of the land in the proposed neighborhood mixed use is actually within the gaming zone as defined by the state amendment to the Constitution. Yet the allowed uses proposed in that zone do not include casinos or gaming. Conversely, there's another zone that is proposed, which is the regional mixed use, which is adjacent to the neighborhood mixed use, and which does have a small portion of the property contained within it, which is actually within the gaming zone. But casinos are listed, as well as hotels and some other uses, as a permitted use in the regional mixed use zone, but not in the neighborhood mixed use zone. And that actually makes no sense. I mean, if it's in the gaming zone, it should be able to, whether anybody does it or not, it should be a use that's allowed in there, because of the fact that we are pretty much still bound by the constitutional amendment that defined the gaming zone. The other thing that is of some concern in regard to the neighborhood mixed use zoning is that we do have several existing businesses or operations in the case of one of them that exist within that zone. One's the RV park, one's the storage units, and one, of course, is the county maintenance building, which is also within that zone, which they may replace with another building as that one becomes too small for their use and they decided to move outside of town somewhere. Someone would probably need to make some use of that building that wouldn't necessarily be housing or some of the other uses proposed. It's also somewhat of a stretch to think that we're going to see a lot of residential construction in that particular area of town, going south, basically from the RV park to the sewer plant. So how much the city actually gains by allowing, residential construction in that zone I'm not sure that it should be permitted, but it shouldn't probably be encouraged as one of the major uses in that zone. So I think that I think that just simply doing away with the neighborhood mixed use zone and changing the whole thing to regional mixed use probably solves the problem in the easiest fashion and probably with the least amount of brain damage as far as house. And so I think that's something that probably certainly needs to be looked at. How much time have I got left?
You have 53 seconds.
Oh, okay. The other thing is that I do think that the master plan as it's worded is pretty weak in regard to the commercial zone. I think that the uses proposed in the commercial zone, which is supposed to be on Keller One going west out of town, don't take into account the fact that you've got existing uses there. And there's going to continue to be a need for equipment and repair shops, welding facilities, wood construction facilities, maybe even places to park honey pumpers. But you know, I think we need to make sure in the master plan that we don't limit the amount of uses that are proposed in the master plan, so that when somebody comes in and wants to do something, we say, well, if you can get annexed, that's where you should do it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Reed.
Thanks, Reed.
Appreciate it. Okay, anyone else?
Okay, hey, Raider. But hey, Raider. I'm gonna say, how are you all this evening? Anyway, I just wanna, kind of confirm what Reed is talking about, because I do have the RV park and I do have the mini storage and they do have the maintenance garage and that zoning, and I've spoken with Frank earlier today, that zoning on the mixed use neighborhood, it doesn't really work in that zone. And it has always been a C1, and even though this is a future document that will be, you know, utilized for the future, but anybody coming in that wants to use that, once this is adopted, has to go back to that plan. As you had mentioned before, Frank, was in a previous meeting, it's like you have to go do another step to change that existing zoning for a different use if it's not identified within the comp plan, if it becomes to be used, you know, throughout the process. So I think, you know, in this particular situation, basically from Womack South, going from Second Street on the east side of Second Street to Highway 67, that corridor running all the way down from the north nose of the RV park at 67 and Second Street, all the way down, you know, along Highway 67, as that area needs to actually be, you know, labeled as the mixed use. I was looking at that too. Mixed use regional basically is the best describes the area within the C1 district. Because that is all C1, it was C2 in the past, and they brought it back down to C1, a little bit different area. So anyway, when you look at everything, even, you know, beyond the gaming zone directly to the east of that area where the concrete plant is right now, that sits also and identified as the regional mixed use too, similar to what's going on in that general neighborhood, the treatment plant and all that. And I don't see any housing within that area. It seems to me that we have so much housing already within the area, including what I'm proposing over there off of C Street and Thurlow, which is, you know, fairly, you know, large environment that you'll be seeing here pretty quick. I think we have plenty. We don't have really any commercial. You know, we're really weak in the whole commercial area, and that's the driving force for a lot of Cripple Creek and where we go in the future. Where are we going to go if we have all houses and nowhere for anyone with houses to go? Speaking with the school and speaking with everyone here, you know, the big thing is that we need some additional things to do, some additional services, and all the the different amenities that you would expect from a small town or from any town for that matter. The minute we kind of start tightening this up and everything becomes residential, we don't have that. And to annex, as Reed had mentioned, to try to annex more property and to allow these future uses, I have another annexation that's on the list that sits out there by the store coming up next in my next annexation after the one that you'll be seeing here in the next several days. Which will, get into some industrial uses and all the stuff out there kind of by Black Hills. So I do have that, but I mean, that's, I don't know how long that process is gonna be from when I get through with this one. That's taken months and months to do. I've got some challenges to do that, to even bring that into a commercial environment to see how we use it. So anyway, my suggestion is, as Reed had said, keep it really simple. Take that area I just identified, bring it into, at least on this particular plat, in light of there not being a better use into the regional mixed use. That's my point.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Any additional comments? All right, at this time, can I get a motion to close public hearing?
I'll make a motion that we close public hearing.
Second,
Vote please.
Councilman Shenary,
yes.
Councilman Bowman,
Yes.
Councilman Schwab.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Mayor Gurke.
Yes. Okay, comments, concerns, or changes from the planning commission?
Can you put that map back up that Camille shows, has the future land use map? It's gonna be easier to talk about it if you could see them.
That's a true story.
So you can actually see what we're talking about here. So you.
Oh, sorry.
Did you do that on purpose? Just kidding. I was just getting fired up. So you can see the red line that defines the gaming district. And what they're talking about is, if you look south of Wamak, you'll see those 3 blocks going south are a blue. And then in the far right corner and then over to the right, you see a light blue. That's their difference. They're saying the light blue, the real light blue, allows gaming, but the blue that's actually in the gaming district, which is those 3 blocks and a portion of another one, they're recommending that blue turn to light blue that allows gaming in the gaming district. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
If you want me to, I can get a point at it, but I think you see what I'm looking at. So I think that's what they're concerned about. I understand. And if the council wishes us to make that change, Camille can make the color change for your next public hearing on the 1st, if y'all are in agreement. I do want to make a comment about outside city limits. You can't zone outside city limits. So it doesn't matter what's out Teller 1 or anywhere else. All you can focus on is what's inside city limits in your comprehensive plan. So as people annex and request annexation, then council will take that up on zoning the property at that time. So you can't talk about what's out there now or honey pumpers or, sorry, Reed. We might not want one of those in our city limits. Just kidding.
Don't need it in the city limits.
Just kidding, Cody. So anyway, that's what they're talking about.
Knowing that area down there, I agree with their point of view, saying that we don't see it for housing necessarily, and that makes sense with it.
Well,
I think that, and down through that area too, there's a lot of very possible floodplain issues down through there. I don't know what you could build down there. But yeah,
Swampland.
those are good points.
We could have a gator farm,
What?
a gator farm. It's swampland down there, so.
No, I agree with those comments who's gonna build a house in that area? And you bring up an excellent point, so I
I was thinking, maybe that's not possible, because it looked, there's like very, very little commercial property in Teller County or Brooklyn.
Mhm. Yeah, I have no objections to making those changes.
That was a good catch.
so we'll do that and
And to clarify, it's south of Wamax.
I was gonna go there.
whatever it's called, that W3.
do you have a comment?
So I do think this was a technical error because there was a meeting that was had with Jeff and Kimley Horn and staff. And that was not the direction that we asked them to go. So I do think it is a technical error. I do agree with you, Reed.
And he just defines that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's just
100%.
Whatever, yeah, it's from there. so-
More in line to what our,
That street there.
That's what I was saying.
Okay. okay.
Good.
So yeah, that can easily be corrected.
So thank you.
Thoughts?
All right, any further comment before I,
It's not the game zone, that's the.
Yeah,
Oh, it's not dark.
swamp land.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the bridge, oh,
Yeah, that too.
all right, any further comment or questions before we reconvene as a council? So then do I ask for a motion to reconvene as council? How do I do that?
yes,
All right, can I get a motion to reconvene as council, city council?
oh, second,
Vote please.
Councilman Terry,
yes,
Councilman Bowman,
Yes.
Councilman Schwab.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
Yes.
Mayor Durham.
Yes. Right, thank you, gentlemen, both for that. All right, moving on to agenda item D. Consider approving certification of property taxes, the outstanding water and sewer charges as of September 25. Monet Edwards.
Good evening again. Staff would like to request the approval of certification to property taxes for outstanding water and sewer charges as of September 1st, 2025. This is an annual process. The practice is allowed by Muni Code Chapter 13, Municipal Utilities, Article 5, Section 13-5-150 in regard to late charges. In the event any user of the city's system neglects, fails, or refuses to pay the rates and charges fixed by the article for the use of said water and sewer system, the rate and charges due therefrom shall be certified by the city clerk to the county treasurer and shall become a lien upon the real property so served by said water and sewer connections. Like I said, we do this every year for accounts that are in arrears.
So the standard annual practice.
It is a yeah, based on the municipal code.
Can I get a motion?
I was gonna make a motion that we approve the certification to property taxes, the outstanding water and sewer charges as of September 1st, 2025.
you second, I've seconded it.
Second.
Vote please.
Councilman Schwab.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
Yes.
Councilman Terry,
Yes,
Councilman Bowman,
Yes.
Mayor Durham.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Agenda, sorry, go ahead.
may I interrupt real quick before
Yes.
we move on? I do
Oh.
believe that for agenda item C and D, I will step out, recuse myself as I am an employee of Full House.
Thank you.
Just don't forget me out there. It's happening. Oh,
Close the doors. All the lights are off.
You sneak out the back.
Agenda item C, Full House Resorts Master License Agreement. Erin Smith, City Attorney, she is online this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, what I plan to do tonight with regard to this item is to give you a little bit of background about why it's in front of you and why you're being asked to approve this agreement, and then talk about the key terms in the agreement, which necessarily require, I think, an idea of the little pieces of property that are subject to the license. And so at that point, I will draw your attention to the pictures, if you will, in the license agreement in the exhibits. And I will probably defer some to City Administrator Salvato to help describe how those little pieces of property are going to be used to the best of his abilities, or if he can call upon others to help do that, then I would ask for that assistance. So let me get started with some background as to why council is being asked to approve a license agreement with Full House Resorts. And you are being asked to approve it because back in the very beginning, when this project was approved, and the developer of the project asked for the city to vacate a portion of Second Street and a portion of the alleyway, so that those pieces of public property could be used and become property that was owned by the developer and could be used then for this project. The city at that time, when they approved those vacation ordinances, they built in a requirement, a condition to those vacations, that a license agreement would be entered into. So way back in the 2018 era, city council recognized that there was likely going to be a need for a license agreement. So what is a license agreement? Well, as you know, this is by way of just kind of to remind you how city property works. No private person can own public right of way unless the city vacates that public right of way and the title turns over to that private entity. Otherwise, the city's streets and the city's rights of way can never be owned by a private entity. So a private entity can't use those as a matter of owning those pieces of property. They can only use those with permission. And that's what a license is. It's the city granting permission, not granting an interest in the real property, but granting permission for the developer to use that real property. And so that's what this license is. As it turned out, after the project was all designed and put together, and as was anticipated from way back in the beginning, as I said, some little pieces of city-owned right-of-way will be have been made subject to developer improvements. And again, I'm going to defer to others to explain exactly how those little bits and pieces of city property have been used. But what this license agreement does is it grants permission to the developer to use those little pieces of private property, but allocates the risks and the liability associated with someone, getting hurt on those little pieces of property to the developer. So the developer is going to make the city whole. There's a strong indemnification in this license agreement. There's a requirement that the licensed property pieces are maintained in good condition, and there are rights for the city, not obligations, but rights for the city to step in if the city sees that those little pieces of real property aren't being taken care of the way they should be. And this agreement then, standard license, makes it clear that should the terms of this license ever be violated, then the license is revoked. And so the rights to use those licensed properties goes away. So of course, there's every incentive for FHR to abide by this agreement and to make sure that it is using those parcels the way it is supposed to use them under the rules and standards of this agreement, and making sure that it complies with all the requirements of this agreement. So that is my overview of the agreement. If you page down to what would be page marked as page 20 of the agreement, and after page 20, you get into the exhibits which are numbered differently. They don't have sequential numbering after 20, but you'll see an exhibit A, an exhibit B, an exhibit C, D, E, F, all the way through G. And each of those exhibits describes both by graphic mapping as well as a surveyed legal description, the specific outline of those little licensed areas. And I would be at this point happy to turn this over to and defer to City Administrator Salvato to kind of explain how those little licensed areas will be used, or somebody that who maybe can provide better information on how those licensed areas are to be used, if council would like to hear that.
Let me go through that. Exhibit A is on car. It's the fence and landscaping that they're going to put on a car down to about where the building starts. Exhibit B is on car. It's on, I think this, Steve, do you have the pictures? No. You don't have the pictures. Exhibit B is on car. I think this area is where they have the planters at the back entrance. Exhibit C is the crosswalk. Move on through, they're pretty easy to. D is the other side of the car. This is also the, and I think their drainage is in that area. It's mainly the planters they have on the sidewalks. So when you put something out on the sidewalk, you have to have a license to put it there from the city. So a lot of these are delineated. Steve caught a lot of these and they went and had them surveyed in so they could provide these to us. Same thing on Bennett Exhibit E. That's a planter and an exit out of, I think it's out of 980 Prime. And it comes out on the sidewalk and there's a walkway or ramp there with a planter.
Right there on
Oh. F are planters. Yeah. Caitlin, do you have anything? She's online too. But I think
Hi,
that
Caitlin Ponder, legal counsel for FHR. I was just going to point you to right on page 2 at section 1.7 is kind of a narrative description of the improvements, if that's helpful. I think, city administrator kind of just walked through that, but that's just a narrative list, if that's helpful. But otherwise, Erin did a great summary, so thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin and Frank. Council, I'd be happy to take any more questions. I know Caitlin could take more questions, or Frank. But if you have no more questions, then I would recommend a motion to approve this license agreement as presented to you.
I was just curious, I don't know if it relates to this or not, but what's gonna happen with the stop signs back there where car and A meet or car and second? Are we gonna put a real stop sign back there, or is it gonna take that away, or
stop signs are coming out on car. It will leave the one on second. The car will be through, but we had some concerns. Their request was to take the stop signs out. That's been a request of FHR from the beginning. They put the crosswalk in and there's some question that they asked on the east side of the crosswalk, on the south side of car, they wanted to paint a loading zone so a bus could pull up there if there's a band or somebody wants to play inside. My concern was if you're up at the top of the hill heading west and you get down there and somebody walks out from behind the buses are pretty tall. Would they see the light flashing? And they might see the one over here, but they might not see that one. So I think Steve has ordered 2 more signs about the crosswalk to be put in earlier, that there's a crosswalk ahead. And so we're warning people that that crosswalk is there. The plan is once those signs get in, then we'll remove the stop signs and car will be a through. It'll be a through street. We'll probably have to put a police officer there to give tickets for speeding. Because once the stop signs aren't there,
You
it's
might
gonna
have another recommendation of putting another sign at that stop sign and saying cross traffic does not stop.
That's in the works.
Awesome.
Great.
So yes, that is the plan. We're still talking about painting the curb and how that's gonna work to make sure it meets the state law.
Well, I think we talked about it earlier with the gentleman from the Chamonix about they're having their trucks back in there and they're blocking most of the street off. And
Steve Bickmore, Public Works Director. Frank's right, what he's been saying. One thing he did mention was state law is you cannot park within 25 feet of a crosswalk. So that bus has to be at least 25 feet away. So you do have time to see. They want 85 feet from the loading zone, from the dock back. I think there's 130. So if we give them their 85, we're okay, plus we got the other 25.
So what do we do, Steve, about buses parking on Bennett right on the crosswalk? I mean, that is so dangerous, and all of you seen, you go up Bennett and somebody darts in front of that bus and they're not looking for you. I mean, they're parking right on the crosswalk. I don't know who, if we can enforce
So we need to talk to Triple Crown because there is that 25-foot, you're not supposed to park within 25 foot of a crosswalk, so. That's being violated.
That's scary every time.
it is.
In the past, we didn't want to paint a whole bunch of curbs. Normally, we're out start painting this stuff, we'll do it. Just so it marks it out for them. I don't have a problem with it, and it makes it safer.
I was gonna say, I think we have a conversation with, obviously, Full House and across the street, I think that's one worth having, that one scares me more than anything. But I think we try the conversation first and see how they do with that, and then if it comes down to it. I have to think.
I think the only issue on Bennett is on the south side is if they can park, get the bus down lower. That's the only spot.
That's the purpose of the
Yeah,
25
so you
foot.
can see people. That's about the only spot.
Well, I agree.
Yeah, now we're not concerned with the crosswalk on the other side. We just want to make sure that drivers can see people crossing. They might not see the flashing, never know.
Which on car, what side of the crosswalk are they wanting the loading zone on? This side or the east or west side?
East side.
East side.
East side. So with that being said, if you're coming westbound on car, you still got this whole other lane if somebody pops out from behind it. So that's less concerning as the one on Bennett where you literally are right next to the bus.
Exactly. Exactly.
So at least there's a little bit more of a buffer over here, which I agree people will be going faster here. But there's a little bit more of a buffer.
If a car's parked there, which you're not supposed to be within 25 foot either, but you could at least see over the car or around the car. It's not as a bus sitting there. I mean, we want to be open to what they want to do. And if it's, so we'll talk to them both sides. And then if they don't comply, maybe we paint the curbs, no parking.
I mean, I don't know if it relates to this, what we're talking about, this item.
Yeah, my question is the improvements, planters, fences, whatever, I mean, obviously fences are permanent, but planters all permanent, everything in here, is this all permanent stuff or does it move? Is it mobile?
No, the crosswalk's not mobile.
Well, I understand that, but then there's like,
The planters are mobile. Yeah, they could be moved if we wanted to move, if you remove that from the license.
I'm more concerned about if we have a license agreement for this area and they move the planter to this area, like type of thing.
It's gotta be in this area. This is the license agreement for this particular area.
I mean,
They can't be moved easily.
it'd be noticed.
It's gonna take a big loader to move those planters. Yeah.
I think as many warning signs as possible that we can put up, giving everybody a heads up. I'm just concerned about the safety.
The other thing might be a little bit of speed.
Signs, I just checked on Lindy and I haven't heard back yet.
And just from my understanding with the license agreement, Full House is responsible for the crosswalk itself. So they are responsible for the flashing signs.
Yes,
Okay. And is there's, in the event that like the flashing sign stops working, what is the timeline for? Is there an expectation for when it will be addressed? I'm just concerned about that one, safety issue.
Yes, the license itself gives a 15-day written notice for any fixes or cures to be made, and there is an emergency contact. Or I don't think we identified ones here. But there is a 15-day time frame to respond to any concerns.
Fantastic. Yeah, they do. I think if
very
we bring it up, they'll address it ASAP.
They do a great job.
I do think we need to cover it, but no, that's, yeah, great. For sure.
Aaron, I'm not asking you to quote the
Mhm.
state law on traffic, but I think there's a law about if someone's in a crosswalk, you have to stop. So I don't know that the lights have to be flashing.
Just the.
Right, that's correct.
If it's a marked crosswalk in the state of Colorado and somebody walks into that crosswalk, you're obligated to stop.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, what we could do, just if there's a major issue, we could put stop signs, temporary stop signs on either side of the crosswalk and make everybody stop. But I think Full Houses, they've been very responsive to us, so I think they're gonna take care of it as soon as possible. It's their patrons that are walking across there from their parking lot, so I think they want to make it safe.
Any additional questions or discussion? And can I get a motion, please? Thank you, Steve.
So is this motion
master license?
approving the master license
Yes.
agreement? I'll make a motion that we approve the master license agreement with Full House Resorts.
Vote please.
Councilman Tenary. Oh, sorry. Councilman Bowman.
Yes.
Councilman Schwab.
Yep.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
Yes.
Mayor Duff.
Yes. Agenda item D, Full House Resorts Drainage Maintenance Agreement. Aaron.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, this agreement is really more unique. And what I intend to do is give you a overview of what this agreement does, and a very, very broad overview of why it was put in place. And then I'm going to walk you through the key provisions of this agreement, which are really the scope of work and the obligations and enforcement provisions, which are on page 2. And then I would like to defer to City Administrator Salvato to go into a little bit more of the background for, exactly what were the circumstances that gave rise to the need for this agreement. And that I think is really important. So let me start with, generally speaking, we became aware of the fact that there was going to be some significant unique drainage solutions with regard to the Full House project. And as a result of determining that the drainage was going to have to flow, and Frank can correct me later if I'm wrong, the drainage was really going to have to flow essentially sort of below the building. As a result of that is a unique circumstance. The city recognized that it was really important that these inlets for this drainage and the pipes through which this drainage was going to be conveyed were at all times functioning correctly. Because if they were not functioning correctly, as you can imagine, the areas of the inlet, which are on Carr Avenue, would be plugged up, and you would have accumulation of ice, accumulation of water, and more concern, accumulation of ice. And so this is really, I think, a very important, somewhat unique, but I think a really elegant solution to this sort of civil construction and engineering issue. And so what we put together is an agreement which in its terms are obligations in perpetuity to the owner of the hotel casino to make sure that these drainage inlets and all the piping that are connected to them are always working the way that they need to work. And then, of course, there are broad indemnifications and allocation of risks onto the developer should anybody, onto the hotel casino owner, should anybody be hurt. And should a lawsuit ever arise, so that the city is made whole. So if you look on page 2, I think there's a pretty good summary of the scope of work and the obligations that are allocated to and assigned to and assumed by the, it says developer, but it will be, of course, the long-term, the owner of the hotel casino. So you'll see there in paragraph 1, scope of work, that the developer shall maintain and operate the inlets, pipes, and sidewalk adjacent to Carr Avenue, we call those the drainage facilities, and keep them in good working order and free of ice accumulation in perpetuity. And these obligations are covenants that will be running with the property. So that means that the city has options for how it can enforce these. The obligations are spelled out in specific detail in paragraph 2, obligations enforcement. And you'll see there, the developer assumes all responsibility for and shall perform the work, which is the work that's keeping the facilities in working order and free of ice. The developer represents and warrants that it is adequately staffed to undertake and carry out this work. The developers must perform, the work must be performed by a person experienced in the inspection, operation, and maintenance of drainage facilities. And of course, this is to ensure that the drainage facilities are operating as designed. Developers also required to keep accurate records of the work performed. And those records, it goes on later in paragraph E, those records have to be maintained, and those records are open to the city at any time that the city would want to inspect those records. And then in D, there's an obligation for the, again, I'm using the term developer, that's what the agreement uses, but it will be the owner and of the casino hotel. But the developer owner will have to cure any deficiencies that are brought to the attention of the developer owner of the casino within 30 days. And the city then has the right, again, but not the obligation, to step in and perform the cure work. And all the costs of performing that work are then charged back to the owner of the casino. And if that money is not paid when it's supposed to be paid, then much like what Monet did earlier in tonight's meeting, those costs that the city bore and if not paid back can be certified to the county treasurer for collection as taxes. So that is really, you know, in addition to the broad indemnification and the requirement that the owner of the casino release the city from any, you know, future lawsuits, and also carry adequate insurance Those are sort of the legal terms of this agreement, and I would then defer to Frank, Steve, and Ken, if need be, to give you a better idea of where the inlets are, and perhaps more information about the engineering circumstances that existed and the need for this agreement.
Oh, okay. One other thing, Aaron, that's in here that I want to make the council aware of is Full House Resorts has some of the land that they built the casino on, the hotel and the parking garage is property they have leased. So you will see a landlord consent at the back. The guy that owns the property, Mr. what's his name, Broccoli, has also consented to this. That also protects the city because he owns property that the facilities are built on. Not all of it, just some of it.
And thank you, Frank, for that. And I would also add then that the other thing that is in the works between Full House and the city will be a follow-on agreement that will memorialize that at a certain point in any refinancing of the bonds that currently are outstanding, that there will also be, to the extent we can obtain sort of subordination of any lender rights, so that the lender could never foreclose out over this agreement. So that's something that Caitlin and I are working on separately, but thank you for pointing out the landowner's consent. It's also a consent and a promise, a pledge to abide by the terms of this agreement.
So when all of this kind of started, there's a drainage way shown on our floodplain map that starts back up north side of Cripple Creek and comes down to Carr, and then it stops. It doesn't show that drainage way ever going to the creek. So we had Bohannon, Houston, they have Rivka is their drainage person. She got involved with us and the drainage company that Full House Resorts. And so the pipe that they installed on Carr, they actually have some holding basins they installed underneath that sidewalk. And there's drainage inlets there. Then there's pipes that run up, I guess they run up 3rd Street. And then they catch the water on Carr. On 1st Street, instead of putting inlets over there that brought more water to go underneath the hotel, they ran a new pipe down 1st Street, tied it in directly into our drainage on Bennett. So that took the water coming from the west side of Cripple Creek that was hitting 1st and coming into this property. They diverted it onto Bennett or into piping on Bennett. So all of those drainage inlets that are picking up this water that actually take it to these holding basins and then takes it kind of around but under the hotel. We were concerned that if those inlets aren't maintained or ice forms and it's not maintained, that water will flood the casino. It'll go through that back entranceway and into the casino. And part of the casino from there is lower than up there. You know, you have to go down the escalator. So we were concerned that if it wasn't maintained. So that's really the purpose of this agreement is, yeah, they can put it all in, but if it stops up and water goes through that casino, it's not on the city. So this really tells them they have to maintain those inlets. They have been cambered. It's my understanding that Cliff, who oversaw the project, he's had these lines all cambered to make sure there was nothing left, like pipe or wood or anything that could have gotten in the piping before that we accepted it. So I think that's been done. And as far as I know, did you have anything on scope that needed to be done other than this?
Jeff has already gone around with his back truck, backs out all the inlets, so that they're all clean now too.
So I think they've hired Mr. Register. He went and bought the vac truck and a camera. So he's gonna, I think, as long as he stays on to that contract, we'll be maintaining and overseeing the drainage. And so all the piping, I mean, Erin had, her request was that all the drainage inlets and all the piping that goes under the streets connecting all of this is all within this. They have to maintain it all. So none of the piping or the inlets or any of that is city responsibility.
So Steve, would the public works be doing the inspections and then how often?
We have not come up with an inspection plan for this, but I think hearing this, that every once in a while we'll go our camera in somewhere just to make sure.
But I'm sure if it's Jeff, I'm sure he would still share those with us if we wanted to look. I don't think we necessarily, but if there's a question, we have a camera, we can go look ourselves. But we want to make sure it's being maintained. And they have a need too. They don't want their casino flooding, so, you know, I think they have a bigger concern maybe than we have. So I think it's gonna be good, but this is a good agreement.
We oppose everybody's bases. Just out of curiosity, would you have a recommendation for regularity of inspections, like annual, twice a year?
It would probably be annual.
Or as needed or something?
We get a big rainstorm, we might go out there just to make sure.
Any additional questions? Discussion? Like, can I get a motion, please? Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve the drainage maintenance agreement for Full House Resorts.
Second?
Vote please.
Councilman Schwab,
Yes.
Councilman Bowman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett.
Yes. Yes, let's not forget Missy.
I was gonna say, we're okay.
Thank you, council. And I really want to thank Caitlin Quander and Cliff for working through dealing with the lenders and the landowner. And I really want to thank Steve and Ken for working so hard to get the specific details of these inlets identified for this agreement, because its specificity is really key to its enforcement.
Okay, moving on to agenda item E, discuss and consider action moving forward with engineering design of historic stairs on Bennett Avenue and the sidewalk adjacent to the restrooms by the district museum. Public Works Director Steve DeHill. Welcome back.
Busy night.
Good evening, council, mayor. We went into a discussion with Bohannon Houston about, we've been hearing they want the stairs back. So we went into discussion with Bohannon Houston about it. And they gave us some numbers for design and bid documents, not construction. For each project. Total cost was for the two of them. No, for the stairs. $32,710. I don't know if we're gonna have concerns with. They're not gonna be ADA compliant, so. the width of them-
Stairs have to be ADA?
No, they won't.
No.
I was gonna say.
So that takes off some of the headache of what we have to do there. We don't have to put in ramps and stuff like that. That's all. But 32,710 for the total on stairs. Right, put this together and threw me in here.
I didn't throw you in. The mayor called you up.
No such thing.
No, he's on the agenda, but I wrote the memo.
Oh, I see.
So just let me explain a minute here. We know the request has been to replace the stairs on Bennett across from City Hall. I think they were taken out back in 2014, somewhere in there when they put the rail in. So Bohannon Houston came in, they met with Steve, and Steve went through it all with them. We sent them pictures of the old stairs. So they have put together kind of a drawing that would be a crosswalk across the lower side of Bennett over to the stairs, go up the stairs, we cut the barrier and make it where people could walk across and have right in front of City Hall, there'd be another crosswalk. So their estimate to do the engineering and do the bid documents for us to be able to go out for bids was 32,710. We already have in this year's budget 21,500. I had no idea what the engineering would cost us. So we're short there 11,210. If the council wishes to move forward this year, we would take it out of contingency, do something before we sign the agreement to go forth with it. Also, it's over 20,000, so it is going to take some council action to authorize me to move forward with signing the agreement. Because my limit's 20. So that's where that one is. The city restrooms down by the district museum, Bill called a while back and he said, you need to go look at that sidewalk. If you'll remember, we did a swap with the district museum with the restroom. They gave us the property the restroom was on. And then they gave us an easement for like 2 feet of the front of the restroom that's still on their property, but they gave us an easement for it. So this sidewalk that you have to walk down to actually get to the restroom is actually still on district museum property because they didn't give us that. But I did go down and meet with him. It's kind of interesting the way they built it back in the day. They used railroad ties. They filled up between the wall they built with railroad ties to where they built the restroom. They filled it with rock and gravel, I guess, and stuff. And then they took wrap material, which is asphalt, and they put a layer of that there. And then they poured the concrete over that. Well, if you look at it from side view, it goes till you get to the restroom doors, and it goes like this. And so that area in front of the restroom doors has held water and ice over the years, and with ice slicer or whatever we've been using has just eaten that sidewalk up right there. And if you stand to the side and look down the railroad ties, they bulge out. So it's just a matter of time. Railroad ties degrade over time. It doesn't matter how much they soak them, they still degrade. So the plan would be to remove that, build a concrete wall to support the slab. We haven't seen the total design, so I'm not for sure, but that design is $26,995. And we have no money budgeted in this year's funds.
So you're saying this is still the museum's property?
It's still on museum property, but it's our restrooms.
Okay.
I wasn't part of that deal.
The city built the restrooms 2018, 19, somewhere in there. Somewhere in there, the city built the restrooms. If you'll remember, we got onto that deal with the train car and the museum. And so the council, they took the train car, the restrooms of the cities. The city built the restrooms. They're there for a purpose with the train and also the district museum. They're well used, especially during the summertime. But I think this issue has to be addressed. Now, does it have to be addressed in this year's budget, or can we put this amount in next year's budget and have them start January on the engineering design? Otherwise, this money has to be probably come out of reserves because it's not the budget. I think there's enough to cover the stairs, the 11,210 in this year's budget and contingency, but I wouldn't take I'll just say 27,000. Yeah, I don't know that we have that much of the general fund to cover.
For the stairs, the 11,210, does that come out of the HP fund?
No.
No, because that's just designed. Now, will the bid of the stairs, because that is historical.
That's your call.
Okay.
If y'all think it's historical to put the stairs back, then maybe the construction of the stairs could be, but it's a decision.
At least a portion of it. Well, I know they're not, we look historical that, but they were in the day, and there were stairs there.
They started off as wood before the
Yes.
fires, and then they were replaced by steel.
Stairs have been there a long time. The stairs, the pictures that we have still show the fire department pulled out on to Bennett with the horses and the stairs are there.
So in
So
other words, those stairs are taken out mistakenly.
I don't know why they were taken out.
I do.
You were in charge back then?
Oh, I wasn't.
Oh, that's right, you were,
That's look forward.
So until we get a design and an estimate from the engineer on cost, you know, we don't even know what the cost is gonna be to build them and to install them, so. We really need them engineered and the bid docs and then an estimate, and then you'll have a decision to make on whether you move forward with actually building them. Going out for bid.
As long as we have like, can that be maybe a grant that we can look for along that line if we have like, again, a shovel ready, job ready to go?
That can be, could that be a Main Street?
I think we look for all grants. These,
Right, yeah.
this staff has been going crazy looking for grants. I will tell you, they're burning.
So I mean, I think. This is just me personally, I agree that the walkway for the restrooms needs to be addressed. That's a pretty high priority. I also think where if we start it today or if we start it January 1, if we know it's gonna be in the budget for next year, we can get it rolling January. I think we go that route there, and I think we find the 11,000 for the stairs, at least get that ready, and if we, you know, we may not be able to move on it immediately, but we can look for grants, we can look for options.
I still kind of have a question or a little bit about the sidewalk because it's not on our property. And maybe that'd be an Aaron question, but you know, why are we flipping the bill to build this and it's not even on our?
I think.
I know
the
the
city-
questions are.
I think the city in that whole swap is still responsible because it's the easement.
Well, I had a big question for Steve. At one time, I know when we wired the restrooms, it had heat in the sidewalks. And maybe it's not functioning anymore, but there is heat.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah. Maybe it quit functioning, and that's why it's doing that. You guys haven't used salt now, but there was heat in there at one time.
We don't put a lot of salt back there, but we do run our little green tractor back there and clear that sidewalk. So that's not helping with,
And if it's not compacted
Well, and
in,
if it wasn't put in there, like compacted properly
it
before.
could have broke the lines or something.
Well,
There was heat in it.
Custodial does, if there's ice there, they do put out ice melt. Yeah, so I mean, you can go look at the concrete. It's not gonna fail hopefully tomorrow. I mean, but when you start seeing the giving of the timbers and what it's holding, I just think, yeah, it's gotta have some.
Well, I agree with Cody. I think. Moving the rest sidewalk. Next year's budget.
Would help us look for what Bruce is saying too, it's not our property, that'd give us some time.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to the district museum and see if we can get, if we need an easement to replace it or what they want us to do.
Well, and then
It's a big project.
was that written in the, with the swap, them?
No, the easement was just for the portion of the restroom that it was like 1.5 feet. We extended into the next lot and they didn't want to give us that lot because that's the lot that the train car sits on also. So they gave us the lot that bathroom, most of the bathroom sits on, was donated to the city, given to the city. In exchange, they got the train car, and then the little piece of the front of the restroom was the easement, so it wasn't for the sidewalk. Maybe we need to talk to them about that easement. If we're gonna have to rebuild it, we probably need an easement.
And then
I
I
own-
agree, with the stairs,
What the law?
with the stairs. We need to get this going. We've been talking about it way for too long. So,
Before I got here, I understand people have been talking about putting the stairs back.
so get in the piggy bank you have under your desk and find that
No, no.
11 grand.
Monet has that printer downstairs.
Okay,
That Paul left.
Why are you here, Mo?
Prints that green back. Just kidding.
So just to confirm my understanding, go ahead and pull the 11,210 from contingency now to start on the stairs and then put in the budget for 26 for the bathroom.
that's my
That's my
opinion.
What about the stairs themselves? Is that next year's budget?
That's not necessarily.
Building the stairs themselves.
Building the stairs, we can look for grant, we can look for.
That'll have to come back to y'all later. Right now, it's just getting
Just get it
engineering.
ready.
Yes.
Get the engineered.
We're gonna get numbers together for
Yeah.
this.
Get moving on it. So like you said,
Make a step that.
we're shovel ready to go.
We don't know what the sidewalk's gonna take until they design it and give us a number of an estimate. I don't know how much that's gonna be to replace that
And as
sidewalk.
much as it pains me to say this out loud, I would say that probably does take priority over putting the stairs back, because that is a safety concern and that's not, but. I think, I don't.
Neither one of them are gonna get built before January or March,
Exactly.
because you're not gonna replace that sidewalk in the middle of winter, so.
Right, so in other words, I think we can get them both by when we can get them.
And I would request a motion there so that we can put this, if we're gonna move money or do things, we'll know what the council wants to do.
Yeah, I agree with Cody and Missy, but Bruce and Jared, what are your,
Yeah, I kind of agree with that too.
With the stairs or the whole thing?
pulling the 11 to 10 for the stairs out of contingency and then put the bathroom in the 26 budget?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I need a motion.
I'll make the motion that we. Let me get my brain together. That we go ahead and move forward with engineering for the Bennett Avenue stairs in this budget using the shortfall of $11,210 from contingency. And then move the engineering for the sidewalk at city restrooms into the 2026 budget. Does that sound right?
Vote please.
I just didn't know.
Councilman Jared,
Yes.
Councilman Schwab,
Yep.
Councilman Bowman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rose,
Yes.
Mayor Jared.
Yes.
Thank you, council.
As you see.
Thanks.
All right, agenda item F. Consider amendment to the Community of Caring Foundation Energy Impact Assistance Fund Grant Agreement. Jeff Mosher, Special Projects.
Good evening, City Council. Jeff Mosher, Special Projects Director. In front of you, you have a request to amend. August 20th, you had an agreement with, signed an agreement with the Community of Caring for the Energy Impact Assistance Fund Grant. Since that time, some information became available to us from DOLA. At that time, we were anticipating that Community of Caring could seek a general contractor, go through the bid process and sign the agreement. DOLA was supporting that. And then the state auditors got involved and said, no. There's too many grants doing that throughout the state. It appears more as a pass-through. So the auditor said, no, the city who has the grant must take charge and put it out for bid, select the contractor, and then award that contract and sign the agreement. So thank you very much for Erin. She worked her tail off. Ted and the Community of Caring folks worked their tails off as well to get this amendment changed. So you have in your packet the new agreement that was agreed on by all parties, including the attorney for Community of Caring. And we're prepared to move forward with the bid process starting in a couple of weeks, with the bid being awarded the first city council meeting of November, if all the bids are appropriate and meet the standards from staff and the engineering and architecture firms working on this. So a lot more work for me, but I don't mind. We're going to get this thing built. So, and Community of Caring is here along with some of their board members. So if you have questions for them or questions for me.
Do we want to discuss the budget impact 1 and 2? Or do we want to?
Oh, yes, we do.
Yeah.
So yeah, the budget impact. So with this agreement, the money for the full construction then falls under our responsibility and our liability, which is approximately $3.4 million for this project. The city could set aside a reserve fund or may use the reserve fund to help pay the invoices. Those invoices then go, we pay the invoice, we then invoice Community of Caring for reimbursement of 75%. We I send the invoices to DOLA, they will reimburse us for the 25%. Quarterly. Yep, quarterly. So I submit, the reports go to DOLA quarterly. So we will get reimbursed the 25%, but then we will invoice Community of Caring 75% of those invoices that we receive. So we would need to have money in reserves, which is kind of how we did the CBDG grant with Paul, when Paul was our finance director. There was a pool of money sitting there that we spent out of, and knowing that it was going to come back, and then we invoiced the Community of Caring. Or we could request that Community of Caring provides funds in an escrow type account that would then we would pay and then invoice Community of Caring and then invoice DOLA on quarterly rounds. And then once we receive that payment from DOLA, we would send that back to Community of Caring. A little less liability on the city to do it that way, because that puts the onus of having the escrow account with Community of Caring rather than us using reserve funds. So it's really going to be your call. Either way works with both agencies. We don't have to make that decision tonight. It can be a discussion, but we do need to make the decision before construction on the building begins. Just to remind you that we are going to be doing some sewer work and groundwork from the city. You guys contributed $80,000 towards that. That's not part of this bid process. So that when you see dirt moving over there, it does not mean that they've started their project. It's our sewer infrastructure project. It's going to be
one of those processes easier than the other for you.
Now they're both about the same. It's just when we invoice each other back and forth, when that happens. The DOLA invoice is going to happen quarterly, so we're not going to get reimbursed that 25% until it takes.
Time.
Yeah. Usually because you have the 30 day or the 90 days, and then DOLA has a grace of 30 days, and we usually use that. And then it takes another month before they kick back the money to us.
So the CDBG grant was $3 million.
No, it was only
This is a
$1 million.
$3 million project.
Yep.
Or something around 3 million.
Yep.
Or 2.5 or whatever the bid is.
I was just doing really quick. So you said either option's okay with Community Caring, so option 2 would be okay.
To handle that kind of cash flow on a $3 million project, I would like council to know that we would be pulling money out of Colo Trust and would be foregoing interest on those funds
That's the question.
to pay that kind of outflow. So, it will come at a cost.
Thank you. Thanks.
So we are fine with getting either a gap loan on a credit. We've already talked with Tony Perry at Park State Bank, so that's in process. So whatever we need to do, if this is too big of a risk for the city, we understand that. We're willing to. We have 87% of the funds for the project. We just want to make sure that the gap is filled so that the cash flow is maintained and nobody is
Personally,
waiting on funding.
the bigger thing for me, Ted, is like what I just said, we're gonna have to pull money out of where we'd be literally losing money on interest stuff if we did, which I'm not completely against. I just.
Well, except you guys have offered to reimburse that loss.
On top of.
So I think that would have to be part of the understanding, and we would keep that aware that's the agreement that we have with the city, but yeah, that would make sense.
Well, so in that case,
I don't know if we'd want to do that.
well, I was gonna say, in that case, it would just be more beneficial to go to round number 2.
Yeah.
Because then you'd save money, even though you'd have to front the money.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of the route that we're looking at.
Yeah. I
Just
think we're all on the same page. yeah.
thought that it would probably be big of a risk, and especially with the interest loss.
Yeah, sounds like it's a no-brainer.
Frank, did you have an additional comment?
No, that was my comment. Monet and I have been talking, and that's also a bigger issue for finance. Because she's got to stay on top of withdrawing money from reserves to pay the invoices as they come in, and then as we get the money back, getting it back into, so it's a financial issue, yeah, with her juggling the money to pay. To me, if Community of Caring has the loan, or if it's in an escrow account, or however we're gonna set it up, we either draw on the escrow account, we pay the invoices, or we send in the invoices, they send us the money and we pay. The contractor just needs to know that there could be a delay in getting cash if we're waiting on Community of Caring. The issue with that is it's our contract. It's a contract with the city, so you're liable for those invoices, not Community of Caring. I think they'll pay us, but
Well,
you know,
I like the escrow account. That way
that's
we
what I,
know it's there and we can just take care of the contractors and keep.
that's what I had
everything
recommended
moving.
was they get a loan, they put it in an escrow account and we draw on that account as we get the invoices. And we'll share the invoices, so they'll be able to see how much money's coming out of the escrow account.
See Erin's back. I'd like to see what she has to say.
Well, so the vote tonight is on the agreement.
Right.
And the finance piece is something we're gonna work on as we go.
Yeah, but
for
if
the
they
vote.
give us direction they
Yep,
want, we can
exactly.
work on it. That's
Yep.
why he's asking to
Yep.
talk to Erin.
Yep, exactly.
Maybe Aaron wants to chime in.
Hi, Erin.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
So what the council's considering is Community of Caring sets up an escrow account. And we draw on the escrow account as we get invoices from the contractor.
I'm very pleased to hear that. State law requires us to put a provision in every contract as a governmental entity that says we've appropriated the funds to pay the contract. So we can't sign a contract with a contractor unless those funds are, liquid, readily available, and we can have full access to them. So, we'll need to abide by that state law with how we set up the escrow. So, there's going to, we need to have very clear, easy access to that cash. And it may not be so much an escrow with a third-party escrow agent. I think it's probably going to be just a deposit into a city account would be my recommendation, so that we can sign a contract and comply with state law. And I'll have to work with Monet a little bit on that, but
Yeah, so I mean, that's where Park State Bank is, it's fortunate relationship with Community Caring and the bank is so strong, so. That's it. Great.
but we'll work with the bank because again, we, how we set up, it may be a city operated escrow. Because again, we need to have those funds appropriated in order to sign a contract.
Great, that works, that's what we'll work through before this project starts. Were there any other questions? Bruce, thanks for bringing that up. So, were there any other questions on the agreement? And again, I appreciate your patience with that coming in early this morning and having that short amount of time to review it, so.
So it sounds like we're all in agreement on option number 2.
So we'll work with that and Community of Caring and their board member to help us with that.
Further questions or discussion? All right, can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion that we approve the amendment to the Community of Caring Foundation Energy Impact Assistance Fund Grant Agreement and opting in the number 2 option of Community of Caring, place money in an escrow account to be determined later.
I'll second.
Vote please.
Councilman Aaron,
Yes.
Councilman Swab,
Yes.
Roy Bowman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bowman,
Yes.
Mayor Dunn.
Yes.
Thank you, council. We're getting that childcare center built, so
Yay.
this is good. Thank you.
Excited.
At this time, I move to go into executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6-402A, 1 subsection A, regarding discussions related to the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of any real, personal, or other property interest. And 2 subsection E, to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators all related to the purchase of real property. So now we will all exit the room. Thank you so much, everybody.
So we need a motion and a second.
I need a motion in a second.
And a vote. We need to vote on that motion. and second.
Second. People, we're still in council meeting. We're going into executive session, sorry.
So I need a second and then vote for executive session.
I'll second.
Thank you. Vote please. Engineering.
Yes.
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 Mayor Tim Brown.
Yes.
Yes. And can we do the bathroom? Yes.
Aaron, do you want me to do we want to use the telephone again? Yes, so she wants off of this.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you want me to call you or you want to call me on my cell?
I'll call you on your cell. I'm just gonna stay on this Zoom to make sure it's closed out and no one can enter back into it. So, but I'll call your cell, Frank.